Esta junta se lleva a cabo en inglés, pero contamos con servicio de traducción. Si alguien gusta hacer un comentario público o recibir explicaciones en español, por favor, indique su necesidad. All right, we're now going to work through the agenda. Board, are there any proposed changes or modifications to the agenda? All right, hearing none, I will now move on to the consent agenda. The items on the consent agenda were sent to the board and posted online last week. The board has had the opportunity to review the materials and ask the superintendent any questions they have had about any items on the consent agenda. The consent agenda for this meeting includes vouchers and payroll, contracts, field trips, and the March enrollment report. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
All right, it has been moved by Martin and seconded by Julie. Any discussion?
Yes. Several board meetings ago, I caused a disruption by saying if there's something interesting in the consent agenda, the board might bring it to the attention of the community. And actually, there are three quite interesting things in the contracts this time. There's a very small contract of yoga for the students in the juvenile detention center. It's a reminder to us all that the district provides education to these students. And it sounds like a well-considered addition to their program. It's some years since I visited it, but I was very impressed by the quality of the education service in the juvenile detention center. The second one, there's a contract for designing, development, and deploying 2 clean building standards for Wenatchee High School. It reports that if we don't meet these standards, we could result in $444,000 in fines next year. What's interesting is that the work will be done by outside consultants plus with Wenatchee High School students in the Advanced Energy Management CTE internship program, about which we've heard so much. So we see our own students coming back to do consultancy work that can potentially have a major impact on the school. And the third one quickly is we approved the Chromebook part of the device replacement. This is the other big bill on the iPads. But what I want to comment on is when I was first on the board, we did not have 100% coverage of devices. When that was achieved in COVID, it was a big question is now you've got a heavier maintenance and approval commitment for your materials and supplies and technology. How can this be done? And the only answer is with effort and careful management. That's the end of my discussion on the consent agenda.
Thank you, Martin. All right, all in favor of adopting the consent agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, motion carries. All right, before I read all right, no citizen comments, so I will not read the long, boring legalese, and I will let Corey take over with the superintendent report. No, special presentations. Perfect. There we go. Okay, and we're done. See ya.
April Fools. Yes. I love it. All right. Well, thank you, President Jackson. Throughout the year, we have asked students and staff, particularly those from levy-funded programs and opportunities, to join us here at our school board meetings for the entire year. It's been great. And tonight we have teacher, coach, and restructuring committee member Ruben Hart here with his mock trial team or members of the mock trial team. I don't think the whole team here. No, this is a good snippet of that group. Thank you all for being here tonight and representing. We'd love to hear from a few of your students about the impact that experiences like mock trial has had on their student experience. Thank you for being here. And we welcome anyone who is prepared to speak to join us at the podium. And please feel free to all go together for collective support and unity. Yes. Love it. Yes, right there. Yeah, thank you.
That's okay. I got my mock trial voice. So hi, my name is Maisie McKenzie and I'm the mock trial president. I've been participating in mock trial for 3 years and mock trial has opened many opportunities for me. I got to meet people in the legal system, other teams that have the same interest, and create a team bond. But most importantly, I found more confidence in myself. When I joined mock trial, I was really shy. I couldn't bring myself to talk in front of people. And at the first practice, I was trembling at the thought of even giving a speech or even performing in front of people. But as I kept going to practices, it started getting easier. I found myself being able to present in front of the class without being scared. And sorry. And I even got to introduce myself to people without any hesitation. Not only did I find new confidence in myself, but I also found my passion. I was in awe of the mock trial process, and since that day, I knew I wanted to be in the legal field. After graduation, I plan on going to WSU to pursue a degree in criminology, and with the support and challenge mock trial has given me, I wouldn't, without the support and the challenge mock trial has given me, I would still be the shy, timid girl I was in sophomore year who didn't have a plan for her future. Now, I would like to share with you more about the mock trial itself. So mock trial is when a group of students take upon roles of lawyers and witnesses to perform a case. Our job as lawyers are to we get a case, which includes witness statements, exhibits, and jury instructions, and create a good argument for our side. While the witnesses' jobs is to memorize their witness statements and to create the best argument while answering the questions. These cases are made up and can go between criminal and civil law, but they're mostly made up or based on true events. This year was based on a person that broke into a property to get his RV back, and it is a criminal case that is using the necessity defense. To create our case, we started to read through witnesses' statements, and created questions to ask them to extract the information we needed for our case. After that, we go to speeches. There are 3 speeches involved in mock trial. First is the pretrial. This is where we argue the reason for certain pieces of evidence to be admitted. This year was the defendant's prior criminal record. And second, our opening statements. This is where we get to share the case with the jury for the first time. That was my job as a defense attorney this year, and I loved it. And third is our closing statement. Closing statements wrap up all the information and evidence presented in the trial, and we would get to discredit the other sides for the last time. Mock trial challenges students to get out of their comfort zones and think out of the box. It also teaches students not only legal skills, but also the importance of dedication, time management, and teamwork. So in conclusion, my time at mock trial has impacted me for the better. I've gained more information of the legal field, improved my confidence in public speaking, but I also gained unforgettable memories. Thank you.
Wow, very well done. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Yeah. Yes, yeah, you're in good company here. So thank you so much.
She was right. This is complicated. Good evening. May it please the court, council, and members of the Wenatchee School District School Board. My name is Lizzie Pitzinger, and I am a senior who is graduating this year. I've spent the past 3 years on the mock trial team, and I've loved every minute of it. But when I first joined the team, I had no idea it would impact me as much as it did. I've acted as a defense attorney all 3 years I've been on mock trial, and we've made it to state and placed in the top 10 every single year I've been participating. Each year, I've learned the ins and outs of what it means to defend my client, and usually the jury ruled in the favor of our team. I also played a prosecution expert all 3 years, and that taught me a great crash course on how to act like I know what I'm talking about. I mean, seriously, if any of you need a forensic analyst or a medical legal analyst or even the director of housing and urban services, come to me because I know just about everything for the made-up city of Alki City, Washington. This year, I was actually recognized as the recipient of the Robert J. Bryan Inn of Court Scholarship for my ethics, professionalism, and civility in the courtroom. I was the only recipient of a scholarship at the mock trial state competition, and I am beyond blessed to have received that. In addition, me and James Kepke, another student from Wenatchee High School, tied 6 ways for best witness in the state. I am beyond honored to have received these achievements, and I could not have done it without mock trial. I've learned more from this program than any class could have taught me. Yes, mock trial taught me the way court works, but the skills I've inherited from mock trial go way beyond the courtroom. I have become a strong and confident public speaker. I have developed the ability to stand for my beliefs and opinions. I grew the self-confidence to defend people who don't have anyone to defend them. And I've even got a better understanding of the career I want to go into, and I'm planning on minoring in law, diversity, and justice at Western Washington University next year. The mock trial program is easily the most beneficial experience I've had in my 4 years of high school. So to conclude my time with you here tonight, I would like to personally thank attorneys Colby Cameron and Starlee Smith, Judge Leslie Allen, County Commissioner Tracy Brandt, and most importantly, law and justice teacher, Mr. Reuben Hart. Had it not been for their incredible coaching and their help in making this program possible, I would not be as well prepared for my future today. I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity to learn and develop the skills that I have through this program. Thank you.
Absolutely incredible. Thank you so much. We appreciate everyone being here. Did you have anyone else that wanted to speak this evening, or is that? Everyone's like, no, those were great. Yes. And those were great. Thank you so much for being here this evening. Thank you, Mr. Hart, for leading and guiding our students on their extracurricular journey. And we wish you all the best of luck in the future as well. So thank you. You're welcome to stick around, but you're also welcome to get on with your evening as well, whatever works for you. Thank you so much. All right, and next up we have Executive Director of Business and Finance, Sean Fitzgerald, who will be giving us a budget update and a legislative update as well. And it leaves just Sierra. Thank you for being here, Sierra. We appreciate it. All right, our lone Superintendent Advisory Council member. We appreciate you being here.
All right, good evening. President Jackson, members of the board, Superintendent Callahar, here to give a second update on the legislative session in Olympia. Just again, our kind of background slide. I last did a presentation. My first legislative update was on January 28th. So we were about 2 weeks in to the legislative session, which began on January 13th. We were in a long session this year, so it's 105 days. So we're starting in January and ending in April 27th, barring a special session. So again, background, special sessions, if the legislature does not come to a final budget resolution by April 27th, they would enter in a special session, and that would go for another 30 days, regardless if they came up with an earlier compromise. They have 30 days to hash it out, and they would keep going an additional 30 days if they cannot come to an agreement until a budget is passed. Benefits of a long session, again, focus on larger long-term funding decisions. They're working on the 2-year budget, the biennium. The drawbacks is we don't know. It makes it difficult for our own budget planning because nothing is finalized until the end of April. And so what we're kind of just waiting for the legislature, knowing what their final decisions are until the end of April or early May to help us with our budgeting for next year. And then just adding, you're going to see in the slideshow a lot of quote unquote dead bills. And so these are bills that haven't passed in one form or another. Maybe they haven't made out of committee due to lack of interest, or they just don't have enough votes to pass. However, although bills are technically dead, they can return in one form or another, either in a new bill or parts and segments return. So even though the overall bill is dead, certain segments can arise during final budget reconciliation process in the last month. So we have these things called necessary to implement budget items that do arise. So really nothing is truly dead and nothing is truly passed and finalized until the budget is approved by both the House and the Senate. So just kind of an update on the areas of focus. So first off, the state budget shortfall. So this was a big discussion going into the legislative session. We were hearing early projections between $10 to $12 billion. We have from the governor's office, it could be up to 16 billion. Then we had it down to 6.7 billion. So we had this wide range of projections that were coming out. Recently, in the last couple of weeks, they've kind of narrowed it down to a $9 billion budget shortfall based on the most recent revenue forecast. So that's what they're kind of working with right now. And then we'll go into more detail, special education, people transportation. We'll delve into detail, all the bills on this slide here. So we'll jump into special education. So the current bill, 5263 coming from the Senate. This is a very promising bill for special education funding. It condenses the funding model. We had the two-tier system. You can see up there about how much time a special education student spends in the general education classroom, and they get additional funding if they're in tier 1 and less funding in tier 2. This bill would condense it to make it one funding system, increase the funding, and then also get rid of the current enrollment funding cap, so which is set at 16%. So right now I have here 14.8% as of February. Since I submitted this slide, we have our March apportionment, so now we're ticking up to 14.85. So anything that would do to remove this cap would be much welcome from the legislature. There were also 2 proposed House bills, more limited, just kind of increasing funding, maintaining the two-tier system, not lifting the cap. Those bills aren't dead. So this bill has been here since the beginning. It's still progressing and it's still being talked about.
Sean, real quick, but
Sure.
again, the House bills might come back, like if based on the budgetary needs, or is that like they're dead?
Well, possibly. I think anything, the Senate bill is the currently one outstanding. So when it's going back between the House and the Senate being debated, it could be altered, amended, and could reflect some of those things that were proposed in the House bills.
So that language could come back, but
Correct.
it's this bill is what we're looking at.
Correct.
Okay, thank
Yep.
you.
MSOC, so material supplies and operating costs, always something we're paying a close attention to. So there was a Senate bill and a House bill. The Senate bill is still being discussed. Its original proposal was a 10% increase and an annual adjustment based on IPD, or the implicit price deflator, which is one of the inflation measurements that are used that are calculating inflation, and is also used currently by the legislature on the salary side. So this would also tie it to MSOC as well. The current model is a very ad hoc. They just kind of decide what they want inflation, that increase, to be each year. So this would be a welcome change, because then we would know with certainty what the increase would be, and also it would be tied to a realistic inflationary factor. So again, original proposal was a 10% increase. Again, as we've been talking about, due to kind of budget constraints, that proposal has been reduced down to 6%, but we're still seeing the annual adjustment tied to an inflationary factor, which is welcome. There was a more ambitious one on the House side, a 20% increase, which was quickly modified to a 3% increase, and kind of reflecting more of the current model. That one did not progress. So again, the current bill being debated is the Senate bill. And again, language could arise amending this, but that's what they're currently working with. Pupil transportation. These bills are generally proposed during the legislative sessions, as for where we always kind of see insufficient funding for our transportation operations. That's why when we're going out and running the levy, we're talking about how our levy funds help fund our transportation operations. And these bills were introduced to review the current funding model, because there is a consensus that the current funding model isn't working, and they wanted to address a new funding model. But however, again, although there is this discussion and consensus about needing a new transportation model, neither of these bills progressed very far during the legislative session. So currently, the current model will remain in place for the time being. School bonds. So again, there's a lot of talk about school bonds again. Again, looking at simple majority, 50% plus one, and eliminating the 40% validation requirement. And again, this would have been a constitutional amendment, and then needing 2/3 approval about the House and the Senate before it would go on to a general election to pass for a simple majority. There was a lot of discussion, and it was also revolving around the impact of school impact fees, which are set by county or your counties or your cities. Our area does not have impact fees for schools, but it would be an additional assessed charge during new construction that would go benefit the schools. So there was discussion about between Republicans and Democrats, like, hey, we will. Republicans were like, hey, if you get rid of impact fees, we may consider this bill. So there's a lot of, but the concern was also like, well, if we take away impact fees, how would that affect school district funding? And so there's a lot of back and forth there. And so despite a lot of discussion right now, there is nothing suggesting this is going to move forward. Although these bills are dead, again, they could return in some form, one form or another during final budget negotiations. But at this time, the current model remains with the supermajority and a 40% validation requirement. Transition to kindergarten. So a lot of interest we're taking in these bills. So there were two bills, 1450, and then the Senate bill, both proposing kind of restrictions and requirements on the TK program. Both of these bills died. And so we're like, okay, current model remains in place. But at the time when I was submitting this presentation for the board packet, a new bill was proposed, HB 2012. And it's very simple. It would just backfill the funding shortage for 24-25 and cap TK enrollment at current 24-25 enrollment. And that's just the language of the bill. So that's the one currently being discussed and we're paying close attention to in regards to our transition to kindergarten program.
Because currently the 24-25 is not fully funded.
Correct.
Like the money from the state to our district.
Not necessarily our district, but all statewide.
All statewide. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, thanks.
Also discussion, raising the levy lid and also modifying local effort assistance. There were 3 bills proposed, all trying to address increasing levy lid, increasing funding for local effort assistance. Very complicated. And anytime you try to change these things, there's going to be lots of moving parts and lots of discussion. These 3 bills died. However, again, between now and when I submitted this presentation for the packet, a new bill has arisen discussing increasing levy lid. So there's still ongoing discussion about increasing the levy lid, local effort assistance. So yes, these 3 bills are dead, but the discussion is going to remain until April 27th on these matters. Clean Buildings Energy Act, a couple of bills were proposed. One was if districts showing a financial hardship will qualify for an exemption. So in this case, an exemption would mean failing to pass a bond or a capital projects levy to address the Clean Building Energy Act, to comply with the Clean Building Energy Act. That bill did not move forward. And so the current one is just discussing compliance with alternative metrics and extensions for reporting. So those are kind of the main issues that have arisen during the last 2 months since the last legislative update. We are entering the final month. We got about less than 4 weeks to go. And again, the budget can be finalized by April 27th, barring a special session. And things are going to be moving fast. Again, just since I've submitted this presentation and in the last week, the House and the Senate released their budgets. There's been a lot of talk back and forth. So we're going to see a lot of flurry of activity over the next couple of weeks before the budget is finalized. Any questions?
I don't know whether you can comment on this where you talk about House and Senate and reconciliation in this last month. There's kind of a third player on the sidelines, sometimes with a veto pen. Is there anything that you're hearing about the governor's office? I know that there seems to be a difference in some of the announcements on the deficit in aggregate.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, again, I think the governor's office was definitely proposing a much larger deficit projection model in terms of, from the governor's office, it has been more favorable to K-12, in addressing the budget deficit to avoid any impact to K-12 funding. I know recently in the last week, with the House and the Senate releasing their budgets, there's been kind of a slew of new tax proposals, both from the House and Senate side, to address the budget shortfall. And although I think Governor Ferguson just came out today in opposition to the proposed wealth tax. So that's kind of the current talk right now. Mhm.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay. Move into some action.
All right, so no discussion, so we're going into action. So policies, second read and reinstatement. So we have second read on 5005, policy 5005, policy 3210, 5010, and to reinstate 2410.
And I would just love to say a few words before you
Yeah.
move into your motion, just really quickly. Just a quick explanation before we get into the motion that will be on the table, which will include approving 3 policies for second read and then reinstating our original high school graduation policy without the addition of having our students sit or take the Smarter Balance assessment as part of the graduation requirement process. I just wanted to share a little bit about why we looked into this change. And first and foremost, we know as a school district and as a board that there's more to learning and more to academic growth and more to the student experience than just standardized testing. However, we also know that testing is part of the process and currently how our state gauges learning, meeting standards, and growth. And it's true that our students can navigate through life and post-secondary education without passing this assessment. But much of the work that we do in aligning our classes to grade level content and to common core standards are to create guaranteed and viable curriculum that helps our students compete academically across the district, across the state, and across the nation. So when our students do not sit for standardized assessment, it puts us at a disadvantage in knowing accurately where we stand and where we need to improve to ensure we are engaging our students at a level where they can enter a global workforce and thrive. These words from the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction. Students in high school, all students, regardless of which graduation pathway they intend to complete, are expected to take the appropriate Smarter Balance assessment in English language arts and math during 10th grade, and to incorporate their results into their high school and beyond plan. Test refusals penalize schools and districts. Students who do not test are counted among the number of students who do not meet standard. This is reflected in our accountability index. Schools and districts that fall below a 95th percentile participation rate on states' tests jeopardize eligibility for any state and federal awards or recognition. So I just wanted to share that and clarify kind of our stance as a board and as a district on the state assessment before you throw a motion in there. Thank you.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the policies?
I move that we approve policy 5005, employment and volunteers, disclosure certification requirements, assurance and approvals. Policy 3210, non-discrimination, policy 5010, non-discrimination, affirmative action, and that we reinstate the policy 2410, graduation requirements, to the previous version of last reviewed on March of 2024.
I'll second it. I'll jump in here. Okay, it has been moved by Maria and seconded by Tucker. Anyone discussion?
Thank you, Dr. Kalahar, for providing that explanation, and for taking the time to insert the OSPI guidance and the impact that the SBA of students not taking the SBA has on the district. I think we as a district can continue to advocate for all of our students to take the SBA without making it a requirement or violating anything.
All right, all in favor of adopting the policies as presented, say aye.
Aye.
All right, no opposed, motion carries. And now we get to the superintendent report.
Let's do it. Okay, excellent. Just wanted to state last week at our March 25th school board meeting, we heard from representatives of several of our community's local athletic programs about the district's facility use fees and the impacts or experiences with our newer rates and the newer processes. And we want to thank everyone for their time and for sharing their thoughts and experiences with us. And even though our system is or was in a need of update, it is not our intention ever to alienate our local athletic programs or create barriers to student participation due to unrealistic costs in the process. Our team will continue to work through the refinement of a process and a cost structure that allows the school district to recoup its actual costs in a fair and reasonable way. In doing this work, we will continue to partner with our community to create great feeder programs to develop strong Panther athletics. There will be more work and information to come in the near future on this topic. So thank you for that. And then I just want to add a couple of fun events that I was able to go to in the last little bit there. Last Thursday, we had a great migrant night where Nancy and Alfonso, they always do an amazing job welcoming our parents and families and making sure there's great entertainment. The main program was safety and security, student safety and communication. Ron Brown and Tom Cooey walked our families through an informative slide deck that included things like Parent Square, online and internet safety, and district and building drill protocols for staff and student safety. It's great. And then after that, I walked down to the main gym and watched the Wenatchee High School dance team and their final performance before their send off to state at Yakima. So that was a great presentation as well. I'm always amazed. I don't know last time everyone's seen the dance team, but they are tight and it's very, I mean, they are in sync and you just don't mess around with the dance team. They're taking care of business. We also had a restructuring committee last week. On Wednesday, where we spent some time talking about all things restructuring, but we talked about a STEM school presentation that Jake Buchholz shared with us from late January. Much of the conversation focused on the importance of capturing the interests of our students in early middle school, if possible. And so we have another meeting that will come up in May, and we're going to spend some time working on Marcy's presentation from last week, because that's very pertinent to the work that we're doing at the restructuring committee. And a celebration, we had our project review committee meeting last Thursday, where representatives from Klosh Group and myself presented to the Washington State Project Review Committee. This was a new one for Superintendent Kalahar. We had a 20-minute presentation, 15-minute Q&A, and then 10-minute of public comment during this time. And the board unanimously approved the Progressive Design Build project for our Technical Skills Center. And we've since then put out, with Diana's help, some RFQs for design and construction teams. So very excited about that movement there. So, and that's it for me. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Corey. Martin, I'm gonna let you start this time. Your turn. I mean,
it's been a very busy week, seems like a month. Okay, so I'll go backwards. This morning was the kickoff day, 1st of April, and the first day that all the Western Hills trails were open for the 5th grade science project. So over 500 students from Mission View and Newbury, and these extracurricular activities often involve the independent schools, St. Joe's and Riverview were there. And it was with their adult instructors and their chaperones and the WSD staff. And this was their program today. I said I would show it. And the other schools will be there tomorrow and on Wednesday. And then the other grades will feed out through April and May. On Sunday, there was the final games and awards for the indoor football or soccer league. Which was a lot of fun and people were there. But I think I want to say this is one form of response to what I often hear from community, that they're interested in healthy activities for out of regular school hours, especially in the winter when outdoor is not possible. And something I forgot to say about 6 weeks ago, actually, I'm just adding lib. The new mower snow blowers were there when that got, and the operator said it was amazing and it saved him a ton of time. And so the money that was spent on the equipment was definitely performing. Winter Guard, Saturday, won the regional event, and you talk about the dance team too, just awesome. And what I want to say is it was extremely well organized. They'd done things like figure out how to get the gear off the gym floor about twice as fast as before. There were hundreds of people from all over the state visiting, many of whom said they were spending the night and going on to do tourist things here. And it was great atmosphere, great sportsmanship, and happy spirits. And it really was very impressive to see that on Saturday. Then we go back to Friday night, the mariachi program. I'll let other people say more about mariachi. I just want to say that was awesome seeing so many students. Last year, I think they got more people on stage than I'd ever seen before. This time, they couldn't even do that. They had the younger kids in the orchestra pit, the older kids off stage, and they rotated them in and out and ran a really slick program. And if you watched everybody playing together, the level of performance, given the wide range of skills from starters to advanced, and so many people with so few days, was just extraordinary. So that was a great project. And then the day before, there was the mariachi porch, and Corey was there too. That was when we learned that there were more than 500 students. There were students from King County and the coast for the first time ever, and appreciate the instructors and teachers who came mostly from Seattle and further afield. But what I wanted to say is it was a good example of how fortunate the school district is that we've got really good partnerships. The outside people who came to see mariachi included Mayor Poirier and Councilor Cuevas. And, you know, their idea of partnering and the importance between civic and school district was something there. I just wanted to say that was enough for 1 week, 1 month, but all on a theme.
Lead you to filibuster the citizen or the comment section. All right, Maria.
Not much. I just want to say thank you to all the community volunteers regarding the events that were held here in Wenatchee this weekend that Martin just mentioned. I know a lot of parents and community volunteers. Unfortunately, I couldn't attend the tour on Thursday at the college. I think I saw, but it was nice to see the mayor, both mayors, both superintendents, community, and I know Chris Crilly did an amazing job organizing and supporting Director Cortez. So anyways, thank you to all our community and school volunteers.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. Congratulations to the Color Guard on their title. One more event that I think was a success was the Math is Cool for the elementary kiddos at Foothill last Friday. I saw a lot of smiling faces. My daughter participated and Sunny Slope did pretty well, but I know there's a lot of divisions, and it's amazing to see so many kids and volunteers engaged in that project. And I just appreciate your message to the community about working on continuing to refine our processes and taking their feedback into consideration. And I think that is a healthy partnership to support.
I am impressed with the amount of things you guys would talk about when we were just here a week ago. So yes, thank you to all our volunteers, and hopefully everyone's able to take advantage of these things now that spring is springing. And other than that, I think it's time.
And I'd be out of control on one other thing, because when you said there were so many, the regional high school art exhibit is on at the museum, and the Beauty of Bronze exhibit is on. So, and it's on, I think, till fairly for another few weeks in April. So yet another activity for everybody in this crazy time.
When you're no longer on the school board, will you come back and just be our event coordinator? Yes. I would appreciate the Martin's roundup. We'll just be like special presentation at the end. Okay, anything else? All right, now we're going to do their executive session. So the school board will now recess into executive session for a period of 60 minutes until 7:39 to evaluate the qualifications of an applicant for public employment or to review the performance of a staff member. Pursuant to district policy number 1410 and RCW 423110, this discussion will be closed to the public. The school board is not expected to take final action following the executive session. Think we can do it? Okay, let's say 46 so I can do math more easily. And then and let's go till 7:25. All right. Okay, we're going to extend to 15 minutes till 7:40. Okay. Executive session is done and adjourned. Cool. All right.